Hello guys, so today I thought I would start a series that's a little bit different. I really wanted to do sort of like a wargamers Vlogmas, and I was wrapping my head around what I could do. Obviously, filming 25 painting tutorials probably isn't going to be achievable, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to do 25 Flames of War lists. Now, I'm going to start off by creating the first few. They're going to be 100-point lists from the books. They're going to be competitive and trying to make them a little bit historical, so slightly historical but competitive. So if you like the lists, you can take them to a tournament. I'm going to range it from mid-war and late war and what's currently available. So obviously no Japanese and early war Brits, for example, but we will do like D-Day, Berlin, and obviously other stuff as well in the desert. So yeah, let me know on social media. I'm going to be putting up posts. I'm going to do the first few, just obviously to start the series off, but then on my social media, so Facebook and Instagram, and for those members on Patreon, you can let me know what lists you'll do next, what lists you'll want me to do next, I should say. So I'm just going to throw it out to you guys on what you want to see. So this is obviously something for the Flames of War fans on the channel, which is how the channel started. So yeah, stick with me, 25 lists in 25 days. We'll see if we can do it, and if it's something that's popular, maybe next year we'll do something a little bit different, maybe Battle Group or Chain of Command, but we'll stick with Flames of War because I know Flames of War. We'll start with that, and then we'll see how we go. So yeah, enjoy the series, and I look forward to talking to you in the comments section. Okay guys, so I'm going to start this episode by making a force that is quite tricky to make. I'm going to make a Panther tank company SS for Normandy. Now, Panthers in Flames of War are very expensive. They're made a little bit cheaper by being SS, but they are quite expensive. So making a competitive list in V4 with Panthers is tricky. So let's go ahead and see how I do that. Now, before I do all of that, I'm going to go to account and I'm going to ensure that my points is set to book. Only because some of you might not be using dynamic points. I don't even think it's applicable to late war yet anyway. But we're going to be using the points from the book for those of you that still use the book and obviously not using Forces of War. So to build that Panther SS tank company for Normandy, we're going to go to D-Day, Waffen SS. Then we're going to go to Panther SS tank company, obviously. You're going to start a new one. So the prerequisite for this is we need to make sure that we reach 100 points, and we want to make sure that the list is something that's going to actually be something that we can use in a game, and it's going to be competitive. So to start off with, obviously anything black is something you have to pick. So we're going to go ahead and hit Panther SS tank company. Now we can see one Panther alone is 10 points, and we've only got 100 points to play with for this series. So we're going to go ahead and just hit one Panther. Panthers in late war are still very, very good. They've got a front armor of 9. So unless you're coming up against some real heavy tank hunters, that's going to pretty much do some really good protective work against stuff like Shermans and T-34s. It's only when we start talking about IS-2s and you know, the allied sort of M10s, or maybe not the M10s, but the Sherman Fireflies, etc., might be able to pack a punch. But we're going to go ahead and just select one here. Then we're going to go back to return to formation. We're going to go to Panther SS tank company. Now, obviously already spent 10 points, so we've only got 90 points to play with, and I'm going to hit, I think I'm going to go with 3. Now, just make note of the stats. The motivation is 3+, which is really good. Their trained skill, their skill is trained, which is a 4+, which isn't just, is pretty ordinary. and then is hit on a 3+. Now that is what you have to worry about. So you're going to be using these Panthers, but you can use them in two ways. Obviously really aggressive, but they're going to be, if you get too close, they're going to be hit on 3s. So if you want to keep them back at a distance, they're going to be hit on 4s, and then obviously if you're using cover, etc, etc, then you might be able to even get that up to be hit on 5s, which is, you know, pretty good. So once we've got that done, oh, and another note is AT-14. So these are going to be able to destroy pretty much anything that comes in their path. So really nice tank killers. So we've got that. Now we have to select another one, which is really frustrating. I would have liked Panzer IVs in here, opposed to Panthers and Tigers. But let's just have a look. We know Panthers, how much they cost. Let's have a look at Tigers. So we could get 2 Tigers for the cost of 3 Panthers. Now what's the main difference? Their motivation is a 2+, which is just great. They're going to pass pretty much everything. Their AT is exactly the same as the Panther. Firepower 3+. Their front armor is also the same, but their side armor is 8. So you can be pretty aggressive with these, and even if somebody gets a side armor shot on your Tigers, you really should be able to save it, unless obviously they've got AT of 14, then you're going to be struggling. But you know, I think a side armor of 8. However, I think for this I'm going to just stick with Panthers, only because I love Panthers and they're just not very common. So we've got 3 Panthers, so for an extra point we've got an additional Panther. Bearing in mind, if we go with those Tigers and we get 2 Tigers and we lose one of those, there's a good chance it could run. However, motivation being a 2+, you're gonna have to roll some really poor dice, but you know, or die, but it is very possible. Now the formation is at 62 points. Now we could leave it here. 62 points is really good for your formation. However, because we're hit on 3s, I'm a little bit worried that this will take some damage, and then a lot of these could just scatter and run, and then we're just going to end up losing our entire company. So I'm going to add in something cheap. I'm going to go with the SS Quad AA. Now these got a range of 20. Their halted rate of fire is 5, anti-tank of 5, and firepower of 5+. If we get 3 of these for 5 points, we can potentially get 15 dice on the table. And if you're coming up against somebody that's got half tracks, Allied or German, if you're going axis on axis, that's anti-tank is really good for dealing with those. Firepower 5+ obviously isn't the best, but you can actually cause some damage. So I'm going to go with them, and naturally they're going to protect your Panthers from the air danger that the Allies might be able to bring. So we've got 67 points. Now we need to really start looking at what we can throw in there. We don't need any more heavy AA. This is where some people go really crazy. They want to throw in like flak 88s just because they look cool or whatever, but you've already got those heavy AT assets, so you really don't need to worry about those. I'm going to go ahead and add some 15cm Nerbo offers. The reason I'm going to do this is because you can be aggressive with your tanks and later on your infantry if you can pin your enemy down, especially if they've got stuff like and static and anti-tank, so like 17 pounders or 6 pounders or whatever the Americans or Russians have. So we're going to go ahead and hit 3 of those. Obviously we don't want a full battery for 14 points because we need to add in some other cool stuff. So 7 points, I think, anti-tank of 2, firepower 4+. You're not going to be using these to deal with tanks, maybe half tracks, but you're really going to be wanting to use these to pin down those large swarms of infantry. If you're coming up against Russian infantry swarms, for example, then you can go ahead and use this to pin those down. So we're going to save that one and go back. So we're on 74 points. What does that leave? 26 points. Obviously we're going to need some recce as well. Now we've got the Puma SS Scout Troop, or the SDKFZ 221 and 222, or the SDKFZ 250. So the Puma only comes with 2 5cm. Let's have a look what the other options are before I make my decision. SDKFZ 221 and 222. You get 3 of those. And then the 250 is just going to be, you get 2cm and an MG. for 2 points. I'm going to go ahead and hit the STKFZ 221 and 222 because I want 2 of those 2cm guns. They've got an anti-tank 5, firepower 5+, again, pretty good anti-half track sort of weapon. And then we've obviously just got your MG, as well as the optional STKFZ 221 with the 2.8cm. So I'm probably going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go with that one and replace the MG with that 2.8cm at no cost, which is lovely. Recce is really, really good. Obviously, it gives you the scout or spearhead rule, so you can get those extra, I think it's 4 inches movement before the game starts, and you can sort of stack your Panthers in there if you're going to be going on the aggression, or on the attack, sorry, not aggression. So we can go ahead and hit save. So we've got 76 points. That cost us absolutely nothing, which is great. So we want to go and get some infantry. So we've got the armored SS Panzergrenz, the SS Panzergrenz, or the reconnaissance platoon. I'm going to go with the armored SS. German half tracks in this game are fantastic, and you get 4 of them. So I'm going to go 10 points for that. So 7 MG42 stands, which are just great. You've got a rated fire halted of 3. So there's 7 of those. You're going to have 3 down there. 3 each. So that's a lot of dice. And then we've got the option of adding Panzerfaust. I think with a lot of tournaments and competitive games, people like AT. So I think, sorry, tank. So I think we need AT. So I'm going to go ahead and equip those with anti-tank, Panzerfaust anti-tank weapons for 2 points. So it's a little bit expensive, but I'm going to do that anyway. And then obviously you can see the stats for the half tracks there. So that leaves us with 88 points. So you can see that with very little effort, we've got some a pretty good force already. Now, there's a few things you got to take into consideration. If you're on the attack, you don't need to worry about reserves most of the time, depending on the mission that you're going to pull out. But most of the time, you don't have to worry about reserves. If you're going to go on the defensive, normally with 100 points, you're going to need 40 points in reserve. So let's just have a quick look before we select what else we're going to get. How are we doing? So we've got 26 points here, and then we've got, so I'm looking at, we need 40 points of what I've got here off the table. So I could go 3 Panthers and maybe the HQ Panther. That gives us 36 points, and then maybe the quad AA. So you want to limit the amount of things are in reserve. I normally like to make it 2, but I think in this case we might have to make it 3, depending on what I select next. So let's have a look what we can do. So we could grab some more infantry. We could even go for that reconnaissance platoon. That will give us, if we go on the attack, a really, really good aggressive movement. So we can rush those objectives. So I am actually thinking I might go with this option. I like to stack up the infantry. So let's have a look what that's given us. So that's given us 7 tanks. That's also providing us with 2 sets of infantry in half tracks, all with MG42s. It's given us our support as well as our rocket artillery. So yes, it's not full of all these different unique things and etc., but it is very, very strong on the AT front. 7 vehicles with an AT of 14 isn't going to have problems coming up against other tanks. The only downside of this whole list is that they're all hit on 3+. So you're going to have to make sure that you're careful with how you're using this list. So let's just have a look at what are the other options we've got in terms of tanks. So SS Stugs, no, we can't afford those. Panzer IVs perhaps, no, 3 for 13. I probably wouldn't even have 3 in my list. What about the Panther IV? I think it's gonna be the same as the Stug. Oh, 2 for 10, but yeah, you don't want 2 when they hit on 3+. 3 for 14, no. Yeah, I think that's probably what I would go for with this SS Panther list. I did want to throw in the Bachmann command card, so let's have a look at that one. I think that's like 4 points though. So if we go to the Bachmann command card, yes, 4 points, but may reroll failed to hit.
in each shooting step. So if you go 6 rounds and Bachman stays alive, that's 6 times he can re-roll a failed to hit, which can be the difference between winning a game and losing a game from what I found. Oh, there you go. If the unit leader is destroyed, roll a die. On a score of 5+, it is bailed out instead. So, ooh, that is very, very tempting. But if we were to do that, what would we throw in its place? Bearing in mind, my train of thought here is attacking. I want to attack. I don't want to be messing about, especially if they're having to put 40 points of reserve. I've got all of my force bar the Nerbowaffers is motorized, so that is a really good option. But if I was to remove these, I could go just straight up infantry and just place those on the table, and then it still only leaves us 5 points. So if we go like this, 7, we could go something like this, command card. If you go Ernst Bachmann, 4 points, and then for an additional point we could get lucky. That just gives you you can re-roll any die, but you only can do that once, and you must use that second result, so you might get unlucky and get 2 bad results anyway. So if I'm looking at this list, I'm going to be putting in I'm going to be putting in 3 Panthers, the HQ Panther, and the quad 2 centimeters if we have to go on the defensive. So that would leave us with 3 Panthers and then just a load of infantry and those Nerbowaffers. Yes. But then if I was to, I tell you what, I think I'm going to scratch that. So let's clear that one. We don't want that one. We don't want Bachmann. Clear and save. As much as I would like to fit that in. Now, if this was a 105 point list, I'll definitely throw that one in there. But I'm going to go like this, 7, and I'm going to give us the half tracks for an additional 5 points. Because looking at this list, I'm going to go the armored or SS, actually probably the SS reconnaissance platoon, and a Panther platoon, so that's 38 points. And then I can decide on the day what I want to throw in there, but it would probably be the quad AA. So then that would, if we're on the defensive, that would still leave us with 4 Panthers on the table, an armored SS Panzer Grenadier platoon, scout troop, and then Nerbowaffen battery. And then coming in from reserve would be another 3 Panthers, and that half-track platoon or reconnaissance platoon. So yeah, really, really good force, I think. The 3+ is scary, but I think when you've got tanks that can take hits like that, it's really good. The only worry would be the infantry. But yeah, this is what I'd go for. This is my 100-point Panther list. Let me know below if this is something that would interest you in playing. It would be a relatively easy force to paint. A lot of infantry there. If you wanted to scratch one of those, then maybe you can do. But I think it'd be an interesting list to play. Perhaps very weak. It's going to come down to the look of the dice and the competency of your opponent, or how poor you are with tactics, like I am. But yeah, very interesting. But I'd love to know what you think of this force, so let me know below. And keep an eye out on social media, because on the run up to Christmas or holiday, whatever you're celebrating, I'm going to start asking you guys what list you would like to see. So I'm going to start it off with a few that I really want to try out, and then I'm going to ask you guys to decide what lists we come up with. So yeah, I'm going to leave it here, guys. Huge thank you goes out to my patrons, as always. Special mention goes to Oscar and Patrick for being those Panzer aces, just like these Panthers. And I will leave it here, guys, and I will catch you at the next one.